All right, here is number 10. Number 10 is f of x equals the square root of negative x plus 2. The original, I know, is a square root function, so the original parent function is f of x equals the square root of x, and I have graphed it in black. Out 0, up 0, out 1, up 1, out 4, up 2, out 9, up 3, because remember when you take the square root, if I plug a 9 in, square root of 9 is 3. Now, on the translated function, if you'll notice, there is a negative sign under that radical. That means it's doing it to the x, okay? Normally what you've seen is a negative on the outside of the function. This is the opposite of the y value. This one is the opposite of the x value. So this one is going to be a reflection across the y-axis. It's a horizontal reflection, okay? So a reflection across the y-axis. Normally it's been across the x, but this one's across the y. So a reflection across the y-axis. And then I have a vertical shift of 2. This is up 2, okay? This is up 2. If it were to the right or left 2, the number would be under the radical. You see how that plus 2 is under that radical? This 2 is not under the radical, okay? This is a horizontal shift to the left 2. That's not what we have. We have a shifting up 2, okay? So up 2. So keep in your mind, normally you're at 0, out 1, up 1, out 4, up 2, out 9, up 3. This tells me I'm reflecting across the y-axis. So I'm going to take, and this part of it, I'm going to cover the plus 2 up. This part of it just takes this one and reflects it across. So I'm just going to dot that one. So normally I'm out 1, up 1, but I'm going to go out. I'm going to go left 1, up 1. Now this is not my completed one. This is just the reflection across this y-axis. Out 1, 2, 3, 4, up 2. Out 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up 1, 2, 3. That there is the reflection across the y-axis. But then I've got to take that and shift it up 2. So this right here goes up 2. So I'm going to go plot my up 2. That point's moving up 2. And then from right there, normally I would go out 1, up 1, out 4, up 2, out 9, up 3. But I know it's got to go across that y-axis, so I'm going to go out negative 1, up 1, out 1, 2, 3, negative 4, up 1, 2, out negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up 1, 2, 3. Reflecting across the y-axis and up 2. So here's my up 2. Here is my translated function. Reflected across the y-axis and shifted up 2. Now, the domain, this one's kind of tricky, pay attention. The domain of the original is 0 included to infinity. The range is your lowest y value right here, that y value 0, up to positive infinity, and that the zeros are included. Now, let's go look at the reflected one. Look at your domain. Your last x value is at 0. Your lowest x value is out there at negative infinity. So this domain is negative infinity up to that x value right there, which is 0, and it is included. Now look at your range. Where's the lowest y value? Right here's the lowest y value. What is that? It's that up to right there. So your lowest y value is a 2 included up to positive infinity. Not out at negative infinity. That's the domain. Wherever it went, right here, that's the domain, that negative infinity. That arrow going out is negative infinity, but the up part of that arrow is the range. So from 2 up to positive infinity. All right, now what about even and odd? Is a square root ever an even function or an odd function? It's not. Neither one of those are, a square root function is always neither. It doesn't matter what you do to it. It's not even, it's not odd. And if it's not even and it's not odd, a translation can never turn it into an even or odd function. So square root is always going to be a neither kind of function. Now, this video still likes it's about less than 5 minutes long. So I'm going to take this minute and I'm going to show you how to put in your calculator square root, or another kind of function, okay? So right up here, this is what your screen normally looks like when you turn it on. Now, for you to graph an equation, you've got to go to this button up here at the top, above this second button, the y equals button, and that's going to let you put an equation in your calculator, okay? Now, the x that you're going to use, don't hit this button, but go to your second button, over a button is mode, and then down right below the mode, there's your x button, okay? So I'm going to hit that. Now, right there is y sub 1 equals x, and I'm just going to hit graph, and that's going to graph a line. Okay, I'm going to go back into y equals, and I'm going to change that. Instead of it saying, I'm just going to clear that out. I want to do x squared. Well, hit that x, and right here's your squared button. Y equals x squared, and I'm going to hit graph, and that's going to draw a parabola for you. If you want to do to the third power, there's your x. This button above the division button is your raised to power. I want to raise to the third power. Graph. So there's your cubic. Now, while we're right here, I've got this parent function right here in the calculator. So there's that one. Now I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to put a second equation in there. So I'm going to put 1/3. So I'm going to do parentheses 1 divided by 3. I'm going to close it, and I'm going to do x raised to the third power. Now, just so you can tell the difference, I'm going to go over. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm scrolling all the way over in my original parent function, where that blinking is. I scrolled all the way over, and I'm going to hit enter, and it changes it to where it's a bold line. So now that top equation is going to be bolded. So my original parent function, if you'll put it in that top equation and bold that y sub 1, the parent function will always be bolded for you. So I've got my parent function and my translated. So there's the original. And there is the vertical shrink. Now that doesn't look like a vertical shrink. I'm going to go in here to window, and I'm going to change my x minimum and maximum to 5 and -5, and my y minimum and maximum to positive and -5. And then I'm going to hit graph again. You don't have to do that, but I've made my window to where it looks like it's zoomed in. And there it is. You can tell the dark one is kind of, you know, it's there, and then the other one looks like it's kind of shrunk a little bit. It's like shrunk it. You can tell a shrink on a quadratic or an absolute value better than you can on a cubic. All right, so I'm going to go to y equals. I'm going to clear those out. And to find the absolute value button, and I've got these notes on the board, but you've got to hit math. And then across this top up here, so let me go back out of here, hit math, and then scroll across to number across the top, and that very first number right there, you see absolute value. So when you hit enter, it puts absolute value, and I'm going to put x, and I'm going to close my parenthesis, and I'm going to hit graph. So there's absolute value, okay? I'm going to go back in. Now what if I wanted to do absolute value of x plus 6? So I'm going to hit math again. I'm going to scroll across, absolute value. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to put x, and I'm going to close it because I want the plus 6 to be a vertical shift. I just want you to see what that looks like. So I'm going to graph. And you can't see my up 6, so I'm going to hit zoom standard, and that's going to scroll me back out to where you see a 10 by 10 viewing window. And that top one up there is my shifted up 6. Now something that's going to come in very handy to you. Remember this. Hit second and graph. Above that graph button it says table, so hit second graph, and it shows you your table of values. So if you're having a hard time plotting points, go to this table. These are your x values, and this is your y values for the original parent function. If that's where you put it, whatever you put in y sub 1, that's your t-chart. And then whatever you put in for y sub 2, see, and I did plus 6, so there's my x's, there are my y's for my second equation that I put in. I always put my parent function in on y sub 1. Now, let's look. Do you remember I put in the equation, I put the absolute value of x, and then I put in absolute value of x plus 6, and this should be shifting all of my y values up 6 units. I'm going to go back and look at the table. Notice the difference in these y values. What do you see as the difference? 5 plus 6 is 11, 4 plus 6 is 10, 3 plus 6 is 9. That shows you that it did it to the y value. Okay, these y values, 6 has been added to the original to get the second one. Okay, Now, the square root button, what if you want to put a square root in? So I'm going to clear both of these out. I want to do the square root function, so you need to hit that square root button first. So y equals, I'm there. And then to get to that, you're going to have to do second and that squared button. So there's my square root. Put in x and hit graph. And there's your square root. And I'm going to stick number 10 in since we did it just a minute ago. So here's number 10. So I'm going to go back to y equals. I'm going to scroll down to my second one. And I'm going to do the square root of x. Now, that parenthesis means it's going to be under the radical. So I want the negative x to be under the radical. Make sure that you are hitting a negative sign and not the minus sign. If you hit that minus sign, it's going to give you an error. So make sure you use the negative sign. So negative x. Now I'm going to close that parenthesis because only the x is under the radical. So closing that parenthesis lets me know that the plus 2 is going to be out from under the radical. And then I'm going to hit graph. And if you'll notice, it took and it reflected it across the x-axis, shifted up 2. That's what this one looks like right here. Okay? So good luck. If you have questions, be ready to ask me questions on Thursday.